Hi everyone, this is Alan Rosinski of Metro Manhattan Office Space. It's rare to find a case study on the importance of a real estate business term being broadcast on a YouTube video in a very tangible way. And I'm not talking about my YouTube channel. I'm talking about Lous Rossmann's YouTube channel and the challenges Lous has been experiencing with his contractor, Eugene, and the build out of his space. Now, I normally don't comment about my former clients, current clients, future clients, managing agents, or landlords because I am discreet. But this situation is just too informative, and there's a lot to learn for my subscribers who, a number of them certainly will be leasing space, certainly a number of them are entrepreneurial. So I wanted to discuss this situation because it could be something that you could learn from. Particularly the importance of negotiating a maximum amount of free rent in the event that a landlord is not going to build out a space. Keep in mind that concessions when you're negotiating with a landlord, are interchangeable. If you get a major reduction in the asking rent, there's going to be less in the way of free rent. They may want market escalations, but you're going to get less in the way of free rent, generally. Now, what can happen is a tenant can really push for a reduced rent and be very optimistic on the amount of time it takes to build out a space, that their contractor will be able to complete a project in a timely manner. And this can be a source of trouble because what can happen is, let's say your contractor is delayed. Let's say you fire your contractor and you need to get a new contractor. And the construction, instead of a projected 60 to 90 days, takes 120 to 150 days. And let's assume that because you were overconfident on the amount of time it would take to build the space, your period of free rent expires and you are paying rent for a space which is non-productive. Now, I didn't represent Lous at the time that he submitted his offer and negotiated business and lease terms, but I really do hope that he got more than enough free rent, and this delay in the build-out isn't going to be costly for him, that he still has sufficient free rent that by the time the contractor finishes, it'll be around the time of rent commencement. So this is something you really have to keep in mind because there's the temptation to focus on negotiating a low annual escalation, the lowest possible base rent, and to be somewhat over-optimistic on the amount of time it will take to build a space. So I hope this is useful to you. The other thing which I'd like to mention is landlords will generally build, the larger landlords, an office or medical space for you, and your rent starts upon substantial completion of the landlord's work. So the risk of delays in the build-out are passed along to the landlord. But with retail space, it tends to be the nature of the build-out is very, very customized. Frequently, the buildings are smaller and the landlords don't have their own construction crew. So generally and customarily, at least in New York City, it's on the tenant to build the space. But what can sometimes be negotiated on the build out of a retail space is certain what's called base level work. Maybe you can get the landlord to install the air conditioning unit. Maybe they can install some rough plumbing. I mean, anything to reduce the amount that you have to do in terms of work, so you reduce the risk of delays, because your real risk if you build out a space is the landlord's going to expect those rent payments to start by a particular date. And if there's been some kind of an issue with your contractor and there's delays, it's going to be on you if your free rent expires. And I mean, for a small business, this can be financially destabilizing. So I hope this information is helpful to you, and one day in the future, if you're leasing a space, you'll keep it in mind to really push for free rent, particularly if you're building out your own space. And also what I'd like to add, as I used Lous Rossmann as an example, is I only wish him the best, and I'm sure he's got all his bases covered, and he thought of this when he negotiated business terms with the landlord. Take care now. Have a nice evening. I did forget to say that if you'd like to learn more about commercial real estate in New York City, please subscribe to my YouTube channel. There's plenty more videos on their way for you. Good night now.